Welcome to Maths Genius. Today we will be covering an important topic in the English language portion.
Now we will be focusing this lecture on the causes of the Great Depression. So the key point is the number of years, first of all 1928 to 1932, but the market didn't recover till the 1950s. So it was much worse. Now first things first, what was the Great Depression? It was a severe worldwide economic depression and it happened before the World War II. And in US, it started in the 1929, deepest depression of the 20th century. We became aware of the concept of hyperinflation in more detail in those periods. Now the prosperity of the 1920s. When a country is going very prosperous, so we never expected that it will come to a fall. The prosperity of the 1920s basically hit the growing economic problems. So when the country is more prosperous, you are unaware of its main and economic problems and what are the deep-rooted causes. Because everything is going good and people start believing that if something is going good, so eventually it will become much better in the future. So the booming economy of the 1920s led to one thing, and that is overconfidence. Americans bought goods on credit and went into debt. So they start believing that we will be able to repay the debt later on. The stock market climbed higher and more people invested in the market. It was a bullish market, right? So bears and bulls, these are the two types of things. Bears means when the market is falling. Bulls is, and in the bulls market one thing is important, even the small investors start investing a lot of money. Because they start believing, okay, if everyone is earning money, so we can also earn money in this market. So to sum up the 1920s, stock market went up, consumption went up. As we are aware, consumption is an important component of AD, that is aggregate demand. C plus I plus G plus X minus M. And if consumption rises, so does aggregate demand, and when aggregate demand rises, the equilibrium point shifts to the left. If I can just show it to you, this is AD, and now AD increases. This is AS. So this was the point of equilibrium for the country initially. Now it has risen to this point, and the GDP as rises, as it is shown over here that GNP also rises, but there is also rise in the inflation. But most of the people say that it's good type of inflation. There are two views, of course. So it's good inflation because it is due to the increase in aggregate demand, not due to the increase in AS or the factors of production. All economic indicators showed increased prosperity. So unemployment reduced, right? Workers paid higher salaries, more employment because aggregate demand was more, right? More exports, so increase in exports. This also investment will increase, the government expenditures, exports and imports would be less. Okay, now Hoover takes the office in 1928. That's when things started turning gray. He won the elections easily in 1928. He promised a chicken in every pot, a link to the French Revolution. This word chicken. Okay, highly qualified, and everything starts turning grey. So mining engineer Stanford, an important factor, flood relief after World War XI, and Secretary of Commerce he was earlier on. Now, what happened was the stock market crash in 1929. In September of 1929, stock prices starts falling. Investors started selling shares because of uncertainty. which led to more decline in the market. It was known, and October 29 was termed as Black Tuesday. There was another day known as Black Friday, when the markets fell to its bottom. Over 6 million shares were sold, and this led to great disruption. Now, how the economy boosted up? If you look at over here in June 26, the market was going in a trend. If I make a straight line, it's going like this, right? So, over here, the market reached its peak because it was constantly heated up without any background. Because remember, we studied one thing, that debt was increasing. So everything was on debt. When the time of the interest payments arises and there was not enough resources to overcome those debts, then what happened? A crash, Black Friday. So if anyone has knowledge of the technicals, they will be aware that what happens that when there is a greater crash, the market recovers for a bit, then it plunges, then it recovers. And if you have knowledge about Bollinger Bands, you will be able to understand this. So the market bottomed at 50, falling like more than 200, 225 points in the 3 years, and it was a real low, right? People were on the street due to this. Some of the pictures are over here, the Great Crash and Black Thursday in America. Okay, so what was the real cause of the Great Depression? Now coming to this, first of all, wealth was not evenly divided among Americans, so it was a concept related to equity and equitable income. Then overproduction means inefficient use of resources. So you just have to know this first, right? Okay. Lack of diversification in the economy. There were more focus on these two sectors, and if you look at the CAPM model, the systematic risk was not reduced. Then coming to declining exports, exports were declining, so they introduced the Haley smooth tariff, which also reduced the exports. Weak international economy, World War I debt cycle led to the global economic depression, and monetary policy of the Federal Reserve. That was the first time this concept of quantitative easing was introduced, when there were interest rates were increased instead of lowering them, so that more inflow and FDI would come in the economy. And the way to memorize these is to make a shortcut, right? For example, I am using MOW, so it's like a moldy. M stands for monetary policy, O stands for overproduction, W stands for wealth not equally divided, W another stands for weak international economy, L for lack of diversification, and D stands for declining exports. Another form could be MUID X. M stands for monetary policy, O stands for overproduction, E unequitable from equity, E leads to another E leads to international economy, right, impact on the economy, D diversification, X exports, as we have in the concept of AD. Now this was happening, $100 will buy this car, must have cash, lost all on the stock market. So these type of things. Now coming to this warning sign first symptoms, farmers were in trouble. World War I, farmers increased production, overproduction led to a drop in farm prices. Of course, if you look at the concept through economics, right, if we increase D, that would have been an increase in prices because demand would have risen. But over here, what is happening? D is constant and the supply curve shifts outwards. So what's happening is that prices fall down, and as prices fall down, and this area between the two supply curves is overproduction. Then the second sign, only a few Americans were wealthy. In Pakistan, 23 to 30 families controlled like 80% of the wealth. That was the statistics previously. 5% of the Americans had 33% of the income. Many families lived on the edge. Similar condition is right now. There is a lot of concept of mortgage and student loans and each and everything prevalent in US. And there were too many goods and not enough consumers. So naturally C was declining, that is consumption, and when consumption is declining, so does AD. Now warning sign 3, Americans were buying on credit, so farmers were in debt. Americans bought cars, radios and appliances, credit, deeper into debt. You can also look at the 2008 financial crisis. It was more dependent on housing. This was dependent on buying luxurious goods. Americans even bought stock on credit, buying on margin. They were gambling on the stock market. Similarly, banks were in financial trouble because they had invested in the stock market. So to bail them out, the interest rates were raised first of all. Now coming to another warning sign that the industries were barely making even. Break even is when the cost equals revenue, and if you look at the curves, you would be able to understand that the cost includes both the fixed cost and the variable cost and all types of costs. Now others were losing money, automobiles, manufacturing, construction and consumer goods. Again, C was declining and so was investment also starts declining. The US economy was not diversified. Again, it depended more on these type of exports like automobile and steel industries to drive the economy. Next, a weak international economy. Europe was still struggling to recover from World War I, so where to export? There was a cycle of international debt as countries borrowed from one to pay off another, like IMF loans. Pakistan borrows another loan to pay the previous payment. So these type of things. The US passed the smooth Howley tariff to protect American industry, but it reduced international trade because protectionism does that. It always reduces international trade, although it does bring some of the money, and protectionism is often used to protect domestic industries and the infant industries of the country, but it failed so in this regard. So what happened after the stock market crash? Americans panicked and took money out of banks. This also happened in the 2008 crash. Banking system collapsed. Similar sort of thing. US bailed it out. The government bailed it out. Money supply dropped. MS decreases. Salaries and prices were cut. Americans lost their jobs. Unemployment raised. Government was slow to act to solve the problem, so unable to control it. Okay, Americans lost their jobs, unemployment rose. Federal Reserve was slow to act to solve the problem. Unemployment rose to 25% or higher, a very high number. Now it is stated that in the Trump administration, this number is to their lowest from the 1950s. Let's believe it's true. Farm income dropped by half. GNP industrial output fell drastically, and the entire economy collapsed and the Great Depression set in and lasted for more than a decade. These type of things starts happening, right? American Union Bank paid on 4% of rate. The rate was increased, and you can more look at it up at the story of first bust. Okay, change in the economic indicators. Industrial production negatives 46%. In Great Britain minus 23, France minus 24, and in Germany minus 44%. And if you look at it, steel was the major sector on which both these countries heavily depended on. Similarly, wholesale prices 30% is the average, and this forex, right? Foreign trade, X minus M, exports minus imports. It fell by 70%. So nearly 60% is the average, and you can just look at the numbers. Unemployment rose by 607%. Similarly in Great Britain, similarly in France, and similarly in Germany. So these figures pretty much tell us that what happened. Now US unemployment over here 1910, 1920s, it was here initially. In the 1920s it was like 5%. Okay, there was some increase, but then what happened in the 1928, it was hovering around 4.9% approx. So now it rose to more than, and it reaches like 22% or something. Then it fell again, then it again rose, and so just to curb it up, it took them approximately 12 to 15 years for unemployment. Jobless men keep going, we can't take care of our own. So these are some of the pictures: industrial output, farm prices. The debate, what caused this? Economists disagree and argue about the causes. John Maynard Keynes, the Keynesian theory, believed that the government failed to act to stop the economic crisis by regulating the money supply. Keynes recommended at hard times the government should spend more to keep the people employed, but where they should have the money. Remember, when the Keynesians work on two things, that is government expenditure, they increase it, and if they increase it, so does the AD increases, and the other thing is that they increases taxes, and if they increase taxes, it means disposable income is reduced, and when disposable income is reduced, so people spend less. So when people spend less, consumption decreases, it means AD decreases. I hope that for the macroeconomic students it's very important and you should pay more attention to this. Now, how did the Great Depression impact the American people? Had to seek unemployment and relief benefits, bread lines and soap lines. Unemployment reached 25%. Mass migrations, people start moving away from America. Number of homeless increase, of course, shanty town starts building, and they were known as Hoover Villas. So this is important that these type of situations can happen in this time as well. I know three trades, I speak three languages, fought for 3 years, have 3 children, and no work for 3 months, but I only want one job. So these are the conditions of the shanty homes, how people used to live back then, and how people wanted jobs, what happened. No, poverty devastated rural America. Commodity prices plunged. October is, nowadays October is considered the time where commodity prices plunges. Farmers lost their farms and become tenant farmers, working for larger farmers. Of course, we merge, like the mergers you can say, or takeover. Great Plains became a dust bowl. Desperation caused migration to find writing on the rails. Okies, migrants from Oklahoma, they were known as. So these were some of the important characteristics of those people.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and share this video and subscribe my channel for more videos and updates.